Hello and welcome to Efficient Strategy Gaming. Today we're going to be playing Panzer Corps 2 on Generalissmus mode. So let's get into it. I have been playing campaign mode and we just finished the Kiev scenario and the next is Rostov. So let's see what the general has to say.
With the collapse of the Soviet armies at Kiev, the time has come to resume your advance through the southern reaches of Russia. Your ultimate goal is the distant city of Rostov, gateway to the Caucasus and its rich oil fields. Before you can even think of advancing that far, though, the Soviet 38th Army must be routed from their positions in and around Kharkov. Several of our Axis partners have contributed their support, and I highly recommend you use their forces to fortify your flank against counterattack while you deal with Kharkov, and then advance on Rostov. Keep in mind, the time is of the essence, now more than ever. The weather is getting colder by the day, and I have serious concerns about the operation of your panzers in muddy or freezing conditions.
All right, so in between here we got another hero and Jurgen Klein, and he is resilient, cannot lose more than half of maximum strength in one go, so that's really good against cities. So I'm going to put him on an engineer unit. And so I'd like to engage you guys in a conversation about army composition. And I know there's many different styles and many different ways of playing Panzer Corps 2, but basically the army composition that has gotten me this far was slowly upgrading to 8 infantry, 3 of which are engineers, 1 of which was a grenadier. Only, as you can see here, I did put a half track on 1 of the infantry, and the other specialized units here have trucks. We've got 4 tanks, and those are my Patreons, Hunter, Von Doomkopf, Wes, and Tom. And basically they're upgraded to a Panzer IIIH because the Panzer IIIH is best at this point in the game at taking out hard targets. Now I am playing with the negative trait that I'm 6 months behind on all my technology, so do bear that in mind. But I'm pretty sure Panzer IIIs are still the best tank you can get to this point. And then we have 4 field artillery, 2 of which are 10.5 centimeters. I'm sorry, 3 of which are 10.5 centimeters, and one's a 7.5. So these 3 are worth 3 core slots, and this one's worth 2. We have 4 BF 109Fs, and they're basically to get air superiority. 5 Stukas in order to take out hard targets such as tanks. 4 strategic bombers to suppress the enemy. And we have 2 really weak ones, but they only take up 1 core slot. So we are able to blanket suppression a lot of different units, and that's what we needed in Kiev. Not sure what we're going to need here in Rostov. It looks like we just need to capture all the victory hexes. I have already upgraded my army. So let's go ahead and see what I'm going to use for the Rostov playthrough here. Okay, so the army composition that I'm going with is 10 infantry. So I added in basically 2 infantry, 1 tank, and the the recon unit, because these 2 units and these 2 units were sitting in my reserve, and I didn't have to pay any money to get them. And everything else is the same, and it's basically to ensure that I have a lot of different units because we're able to put a lot of different units down here. It's a very wide front, and we do need to take Kharkov and Rostov, so we need to go in 2 directions at once or take out Kharkov and then sweep down to Rostov. It doesn't seem to me that finishing way ahead of time has like a massive bonus to it. It seems like every turn that goes by, basically, if we were to win the game 20 turns ahead of time, we'd have a 200% bonus, and then every turn after that, I believe, is 10%. Um, but each 10%, it seems like, is worth like 100 prestige or something like that. So if you're the difference between winning 10 turns ahead of time or 9 turns ahead of time is probably only like 100 prestige, it feels like. So this army is fully upgraded, and we're at 1,178 prestige. And so this is my YouTube playthrough. Now, what I want to talk about is a different playthrough that I've done behind the scenes. And basically, I used a different army composition that incorporated less strategic bombers and more dive bombers. So let's go ahead and switch gears here. So 1178 in prestige. And let's see what I was able to do off screen. So I do play better off screen, and as you can see, there's only 100 prestige difference, and I believe I finished Kiev at turn 19 with my last army, and with this army, it was turn 18. Still using mainly the same tactics, but as you can see here, now I have 11 infantry. Infantry are cheaper. I only have 2 engineers and 1 grenadier. We're using 5 tanks, 1 recon, and I have a Stug in here. Um, and the Stug held up really well. It's an average artillery piece, but it holds up really well, and it's able to mutually support other units uh, against armor as well, I think. So it is quite good, and it's good at bunker busting as well. So I was quite impressed with it, but I did not use a Stug in my other playthrough. And then as you can see here, I have 5 different Stuka dive bombers, and again, only 4 fighters. I don't know what we're going to be fighting against here, but this just goes to show you that I didn't have different, like majorly different results, despite having, I would say, not as good heroes, and also 1 less engineer unit, and 1 extra artillery, and less, no strategic bombers whatsoever, no AA, and no anti-tank. So you can see that you can achieve kind of the same results with different army compositions. Now, to me, this is the best army composition, especially because I'm ahead 100 prestige, and I'm sure to be up against a lot of hard targets. So these Stukas are going to be really appreciated. But on the opposite side, the strategic bombers take less damage against anti-aircraft, which we're definitely going to be fighting against here in Kharkov and Rostov. And they also are going to be able to suppress these city squares a lot better. So you can change your army composition up and still get the same results. I'm sure that I could probably get similar results if I had like 1 more AT, if I had 1 more fighter, and just exchange that out. What I like about this army better is that I'm using 11 infantry. I'm able to blanket this area better, and if the infantry takes major losses, they're way easier to upgrade because they're cheaper. And I actually did come out 100 prestige ahead, but that's not really that much. I will continue playing with just my blind playthrough here. So my original army composition, and it was surprising to me to see that I didn't get very different results. Knowing the maps, knowing kind of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to set up my army, I think that this army composition that I've been using works great, and was quite surprising to me that they perform pretty well. I've never been a strategic bomber guy, but I think that the way Panzer Corps 2 works with all these city hexes, see, the Stukas are not able to attack entrenched targets or targets that are in city hexes as well. So these are close terrain hexes as well. And as you can see, the city is a lot bigger than it would be in Panzer Corps 1. So I think strategic bombers play a good role, and they don't take as much damage against fighters or AA. So that was it. I think that this is a great army composition, but I'm not sure if it's going to work here in Rostov. You'll just have to keep on following the campaign playthrough, and we'll see how it works out. I know a lot of you have commented that I should get the different units, such as the Stir Emil, because of that 20 heart attack rating. But my reply is, A, what would my Stukas do? And B, what do I do? What does this beast do when there's no more tanks left? When I've decimated all the tanks, it really doesn't have a role in the battlefield, whereas tanks in general can still last hit into close defense targets in a pinch, and they really can be utilized in a lot of different situations where I've always found that anti-tank cannot. Recon is definitely a lot more playable in Panzer Corps 2 because it gives that bonus to hit. Where you get that recon bonus. It also does quite well against infantry. The limitations of this vehicle, the SDKFZ-222, is the fact that it doesn't have all-terrain movement, whereas the 232 does. The problem with the 232 is it's a lot softer of a target. Did I just lie there? No, the 232 does not have all-terrain movement. Never mind then. Don't go with the 232 ever. And as you can see, we have access to Crash Schutzen there, who are very good against opposing infantry and have a little bit more initiative, but they do not have armor. The 222 also has rapid fire, so he gets 1.5x damage. So I still think that 222 is viable here in Rostov. And Rostov is on the Don River, and Stalingrad is somewhere over here. And the Caucasus, as the general said, are down here. The oil fields at Baku is way down by the Caspian Sea there. This, of course, is the Black Sea. So please leave comments down below. What do you think the best army composition is? I don't think that there is one. I think that your army composition should fit your play style. Leave me a like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content, and I'll see you on the next one.